you already have it on your sticky note. Okay. All right, so our notes are going to be titled Write an Equation for Line of Best Fit. And the first step that you're going to do is you're going to draw a line of best fit. And we've already talked about that it needs to be proportional to the scatter plot that you're given. So you draw your line of best fit. Step number 2 is you're going to select 2 points from your line of best fit. This doesn't have to be scatter plots. So it doesn't have to be dots that are already on the graph. It just has to be on your line of best fit. Okay? Step 3, you're going to use your points that you selected to find the slope. And our equation for slope is what?
Y equals.
No, that's not our equation for slope.
Y2 equals Y2 minus Y1.
M equals 4 to
X2 minus X1.
Okay, so slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That is our slope. Okay? Number 4, step 4, you're going to sub the slope in for what letter in our equation?
Y.
I heard somebody say n, and is correct. Sub slope into equation y equals mx plus b, and we always sub slope in for n. Then number 5, we need to find b. In order to find b, you're going to go to your graph, so it's on your graph, and wherever x is 0, you need to look and see what the y is. Okay, that will be your y-intercept. So then step 6, you just have to sub the y-intercept in for what letter now?
B.
In for b. Okay? In the equation y equals mx plus b. You will sub in b. Okay, so those are the first part of your notes. We're actually going to see what that means now. Okay, so to actually use these notes now, the first thing that we have to do to write an equation is to draw a line of best fit. So if you look on example 3, they've already drawn a line of best fit. Now my line of best fit, how many points are actually on that? How many scatter points are on that line?
4.
There's 5, right? How many are above it? 0. How many are below it?
3.
But does that line accurately represent most of the data?
No.
Why not?
Taylor, you said
It does. It hits most of the points, right? And the points that it doesn't hit are really, really close to it. Okay, so that does have a line of best fit. So we've already done number 1 on our notes.
Let's go.
Number 2 on our notes is we need to select 2 points on this graph. I would select the points that are easy to determine the x and the y. So for example, if I go up to 2, I know exactly right there the x and the y, right? That point is what? 2.
125.
Okay, so I have point 2 and 125. That's one coordinate point. Then my second coordinate point, I'm just going to go over, it looks like they meet about right here. So my x is what?
8.
8 and
250.
Okay, so that's my second point. So that is step number 2. I selected 2 points on the line of best fit. Now I need to do step number 3, which is to find my slope using those 2 points that I wrote. What is this guy right here? This 2 is what? And this is?
Y.
And this is?
X2.
And this is?
Y.
Okay, so x1, y1, x2, y2. So now I sub it in for m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Y2 is what?
Y2 is 250.
Minus y1
125.
over x2, which is
80.
minus y or x1, which is
2.
2.
okay. Now I just need to solve it out. 250 minus 125 is
125.
8 minus 2 is
6.
so that is my slope, but I'm going to write it in decimal form so I can take the top and divide by the bottom. What do you get?
You got this, Piper.
20.8.
20.83, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my slope, so that's step 3. Step 4 says that I need to sub that in for what letter?
B.
B. So I have y equals, m is what?
MX. Oh wait, slow.
I'm subbing in slopes. I'm subbing in what for m?
20.8.
20.83
For you.
x plus b, because we don't know those. Okay, so that was step 4. Questions on step 4?
No.
Nope.
Okay, step 5. It says I need to find b. So that's when I go back to my graph. Right here is where x is 0. So where x is 0, I go to my line of best fit. What is the approximate y right there?
1. No, wait.
It's in between 75 and 100,
80.
and it's closer to 100, so I would say what?
87.
I would say 90 if it's closer to 100 than it is 75. Okay, so 90. So where my x was 0, my y was 90. So then to sub for step 6, I need to sub it into my equation. Y equals 20.83 x plus what?
90.
90. That's my equation. Questions about doing it?
No.
Those are all the steps that you need.
Okay.
All right, so this is your second part of your notes. We're going to title these ones Making a Conjecture. There's only 3 steps to making a conjecture. Number 1, you need to determine the x value. That is usually given in the question. Okay, so step 1, you have to determine the x value, and it's given in the question. Number 2, you need to sub that value in for what? In for x in the equation you created. And then your last step is simply just to solve for y. Okay, so actually putting this into our equation, it says use the equation to make a conjecture about the number of cellular subscribers in 2015. Okay, so that is the question part, and that is where our x value is going to be found. First of all, our equation that we wrote was y equals 20.83 x plus 90, right? So to find our x value, we started with what year again? Our 0 was what year? 1999. So then 1 would correspond to 2000. 2 would correspond to 2001. So what number is going to correspond with 2015?
16.
16 will be 2015, which is kind of confusing.
Yes.
This right here, though, is our determining our x value. So this was step number 1, because we determined that 2015 will correspond with the number 16 for our x. Okay, so that was step number 1. Step number 2 is just to sub it in for x in the equation. So now I just have y equals 20.83 times 16 plus 90. Okay? PEMDAS, parentheses, do you have it?
Wait, where?
Yeah,
16.
Yes, and it means multiplication. So take 20.83 times 16.
I'm not getting a calculator. 36.83.
Should be 333.28.
33.28. Wait, I added it.
Okay? Now that you got that, now you just add 90 to it. What do you get?
493.28.
420.83? Oh, wait, what'd you get?
423. She asked us, so.
400 what?
23.228.
Okay. So that is our conjecture. So in 2015, we could estimate that there will be 423.28 million subscribers, because if you go back up to your graph, the Y label is in millions, okay? That's not just 423 people are going to subscribe, because we obviously have a lot more than that.
The following
Questions?
need to report to the